Hello everyone, I'm Lady Rose of Goddess Garage. I'm so glad you could be here today. And what I'm talking about today is tarot. And I'm talking specifically about the nicknames of the tarot cards. Now you might come up with some of your own kind of nicknames for the cards. So some of the nicknames that I'm coming up with or that I'm presenting today are sort of long time held nicknames for a lot of these cards. And they're sort of keywords, but not really. It's just kind of a nice way I find when I've learned a new nickname of a card. It's like, oh, that totally makes sense. And if you ever are like, what does this card mean in this position or in this reading or with this person, you can sometimes come up with something from the nickname itself. It just kind of gets you thinking about each card, and it's a way of kind of remembering what they're about. And there's a little bit of history there as well sometimes. So the first card that I'm going to present is the Hierophant. So I'm presenting from a couple of different decks today. So I'm using my Great Big Giant Rider-Waite deck, and I'm also using the one I use for a lot of working, what I call my working deck is the Gilded Tarot deck. And then I've pulled one card from a very old deck that I have. It's about 15 years old or something with me, so it's not an ancient deck by any means, but this was actually one of my first working decks, and it's the Dark Grimoire Tarot, and I've pulled one card from that as sort of a thing for one of the nicknames. So you'll find out later in a minute. And I'm going to do a review of this tarot deck as well, because I dug it out and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about this one. So this is the Hierophant, and he's one of the major arcana cards, and his nickname is the Pope card. So the Pope card is all about bringing people together. He's sort of the yin or the yang to the High Priestess's yin. So I'm going to explain that in a minute. So he's called the Pope card because he's usually a priest, a pope, and he's all about bringing people together. He's about opening the doors of the church and letting the light in and bringing the flock to the light of God and that sort of thing. So, and sometimes he's about, you got to follow the rules, or he's a real stickler for the rules, that sort of thing. So he's sort of the like I said, masculine energy of that combination of the High Priestess and the Hierophant. Now, in some modern day tarots, he's called the High Priest instead of the Hierophant. When I introduce the Hierophant, sometimes people in my class or clients don't always know what the Hierophant means, like what that word means. So that's why the nickname, the Pope card, is sometimes handy, because everybody knows who the Pope is. So moving on to the High Priestess. Now this is what got the tarot in trouble when it first sort of became known in Europe, which was, 1400s, 1500s in there. So this card used to be called the Papist, or the Female Pope card. So sometimes it still has that nickname. So this is the card that made it so that the Catholic Church banned and condemned the tarot, because they might tell you other things, but it was mostly that they didn't like the idea of a female pope, and so they didn't want people to be associating that. So the High Priestess, like I said, she's the female version of the Hierophant. So he's the pope and she's the female pope, and they mirror each other. You'll see even in color, he's red, she's blue. He's about bringing people together. She's dark and mysterious. She's got water and moon with her, and she's more about bringing one student at a time, teaching them the mysteries of life and the world and that sort of thing. And there's the High Priestess in the Gilded deck, for instance. So she always has those two pillars, some kind of two pillars. She's usually around water. There's a moon always with her, that sort of thing. So the nickname for her is the Female Pope, or the Pope Papess is the female pope's term kind of thing. Then we have, let's see, now on my list we have the Justice card. So Justice is often called the Karma card, partly because when justice comes in, it means your scales, because it almost always has a scale on it. Oh, there's the scales there. The scales, and the sword is up. And the sword is, the thing that's about communication. It's the thing about finding the truth, cutting through the lies to find the truth, and then balancing the scales. So it's also about, it's a karma card. So when it shows up, I often tell people, when I'm doing a reading, that it means that it's time to pay it forward a little bit. I mean, it's great that your enemies will be reaping the rewards of crossing you, but it's also time for you to be mindful about seeing what your karma debt is and paying it forward a little bit to help ease that debt, because we all have karma debt. None of us are perfect. There's the Justice card in this particular deck, and this one I like. You know, Justice is blind, so she's got a blindfold on, but she's got the scales and they're going to balance out. So that's what the Justice card is. Its nickname is the Karma card, just to kind of, you know, remind you that you need to watch your karma points. And then we've got the Empress. So this sometimes is a couple of different things. Sometimes it's the Mother card, because the Empress is almost always pregnant in a lot of the cards. She isn't pregnant in this one though. So here she is in this one. So the Empress, or she's sometimes the Goddess as well, because she does have the female symbol, but this is also the shield of Venus. So she's all about abundance, love, harmony, you know, the sort of the crops coming in, the harvest time, that sort of thing. She's also about knowledge and love, because she is the Mother card. So sometimes this card is about a pregnancy coming up, so that's why it's sometimes called the Mother card. It's also about, you know, like I said, it's sometimes called the Goddess card because she represents many different goddesses, Venus being one, I believe Isis is the other, one of the more popular ones. So this is about her knowledge in this one. It's more about her knowledge. There's not so much a pregnancy thing. So she's got the zodiac around her. She's holding the female symbol. This is about the knowledge of the zodiac and understanding the secrets behind the placement of the stars and whatnot. She's wearing a red belt. And I often let people know that red in the occult world is a sign of knowledge, because you'll notice that the Emperor is wearing a red cloak, and you'll see him in a minute. And Justice here is wearing a red cloak, right? So the red, it's kind of, her red belt is kind of like the black belt in karate. So it means that she's got superior knowledge, different from the rest of your average bears kind of thing. So that's what this is. The Mother card or the Goddess card is sometimes what that's nicknamed. Now the Emperor, see, here's the Emperor. He's got his red cloak on. The Emperor is, they're married. There we go. They're married. They love each other. Yay. This is sometimes called the Father card, because he's that stern father, but the father that will always guide you in the right direction, always give you that advice that's better for your higher good. It might not be what you want to hear, but it's what you need to hear. And he's always that soft place to land. He's always got sage advice for you, that sort of thing. So I'm going to find him in this deck here. He's probably the last card. Yes, he is. So there, see again, he's wearing the red cloak, right? He's got the red cloak. He's got a staff, which is holding a universe, and he's got the zodiac around him, much like this Empress does, in a different format, but still the same knowledge. The other thing that's cool about the Emperor is he's number 4. So 4 is always about that stability, and that's what he is. He's that stabilizer for you. So he's the father, because fathers tend to stabilize things for us. Then we've got the Lovers card. So here's the Lovers here. This is sometimes called the Choice card, because you're having to make a choice or a decision. Now in this particular one, they talk about the choice that Adam and Eve, that's who these guys are, made the choice to eat the apple to gain the knowledge from the tree of knowledge that they ate the apple from. So I'll show you the Lovers. Now the Lovers in this gilded deck is a little bit different. So you can see here, there's a warrior holding up a beautiful woman in a gold bikini, and she's basking in the sunlight. And it looks very much like a victory card as opposed to a choice card. So in this particular tarot, because it's a little bit different, and every tarot deck kind of has a little bit of a different feel and vibration and whatnot, this particular one often means support. So it doesn't really have that choice card nickname to it. However, that being said, a lot of tarot decks do recognize that the Lovers is a choice card. So it usually means you're having to make a choice, and it's going to be a big decision, a choice that may change your world forever kind of thing. So a lot of tarot decks, and this particular Dark Grimoire one has it, where it's a man and two women. So he has to make a choice between which woman he wants, because he can't have a little of column A and a little of column B kind of thing. That's just not going to happen. So he's clearly kind of chosen this woman, but this woman is off in the distance, you know, missing him, pining for him perhaps, but he's made his decision. So you'll find that a fair amount of tarot decks do have that sort of love triangle happening. So that's why it's called the choice card, because it is a love triangle and you're having to make that choice. Now, the other ones, now this is another one, but it's not really a nickname. This one I just say it's the world, and I jokingly say you can go home now, life is good, so you don't have to worry about it. Now we're going to get into more of the major, or the minor arcana cards, and it's also, the world is also one of the victory cards. So I'm going to talk about the victory cards, because there's 3 victory cards, 3 major arcana victory cards anyways. One of them is the Chariot. So the Chariot is a victory card. It means things are going to turn out well for you, and it's a chariot, it's a victory card with conditions. So the conditions are you have to stay balanced, and you have to be the driver. You have to take charge of your own life, and when you do, then you'll feel victory and you'll achieve victory or success or whatever it is you're after. And balance is that it's always pulled, the Chariot, by, like in this case, it's pulled by silver sphinx and a gold sphinx. Sometimes it's a white and black horse, whatever it may be, but they always appear to be kind of opposites of each other. I don't know if I pulled I don't think I pulled it for the giant one, but that means that you have to keep those horses, or in this case sphinxes, together, looking ahead, pulling you ahead, because if left to their own with no driver, they want to go off in opposite directions, and that would split the Chariot in half and have it crash, and things would go badly. So when this comes up, it means victory is yours, but you have to get in charge. You have to take control. The other victory card is the Sun card. So sunny day, you know, it's great, so much fun. This one shows the whole universe. On the traditional one, it shows a baby riding a horse, jumping over a wall, that sort of thing. There's usually some kind of wall. In this case, they have the zodiac wall instead. There's usually sunflowers. This one does not have sunflowers, clearly. But it is a victory card, so it means good things are going to happen. You're going to achieve that success or that victory in life, whatever it might be. But the only condition with this one is be careful of not burning yourself out, right? Being in the sun too long means you're going to burn. So it's, again, a little bit finding that balance, but you know, a lot of times this shows up with workaholics. So if this shows up, ask them, you know, do you tend to be a workaholic? And it's like, oh yeah, well then you need to ease back a little bit, and you'll actually achieve more success by easing back, and not putting all your energy into this one thing, you know, finding that balance between work and family, that sort of thing. And then the World is the victory card. It's the ultimate victory card. It is, like I said, just go home, things are going to be good, because this is a victory card without conditions. It means, yep, it's a confirmation card. Yep, you're on the right track. Yes, you're doing the right things. Keep doing what you're doing, that sort of thing. So now I pulled these cards because the 5 of Wands, so it doesn't have a nickname. But to me, one of my clients pointed this out to me, and I thought it was hilarious, and now I can't unsee it, so I'm going to share it with you. It's basically 5 guys trying to put up a tent. So I like that. Even this one kind of looks like they don't know what they're doing with those tent poles. So it's 5 guys putting up a tent. That's just sort of a joking one. But it is, I mean, the 5 of Wands is about getting together, doing a project, sparring with each other, training with each other, learning your skill, but you're going to have to do it in a group environment, and you know, you'll have to cooperate to get the job done. So that really is 5 guys putting up a tent, learning how to do that together. Now the next card I've got is the Six of Cups. So this is a little boy, or I think it's a little boy, giving a cup of flowers to what looks like a woman or a girl, and then there's other cups with flowers. The one in the gilded deck is very pretty. So there are two children playing in the field with golden cups of beautiful different colored flowers. There's a kitty cat down here. I think they're playing with a frog and a bunny in the field there. It's a beautiful day. This is sometimes called the nostalgia card. So, you know, the nostalgia of like, are you looking back and, you know, remembering things correctly? Are you putting rose-colored glasses on when you think, oh, those were the glory days, or those, it was better back then, that sort of thing. Also, when the nostalgia card comes up, because it's about our past, it's sometimes you need to look at the past. Sometimes it's someone from your past is coming into your life, that sort of thing. So that's the nostalgia card, the Six of Cups. And then we've got the Eight of Cups. So here's the Eight of Cups. It's usually 8 cups stacked, nice and neat, and someone's walking away. In the gilded deck, it's not quite so nice and neat. It looks like a big party has happened, but he's not even looking at it. He's looking away. So this card is nicknamed the Traveler's card. So it means, a lot of times it means when it shows up, you are either, your client's either thinking about traveling, and this is sort of the card that says, yeah, go for that trip. You should spend the money on it. Or that they're going to be traveling. It can also mean metaphorical kind of travel. It doesn't mean they're literally getting on a jet plane and going to, you know, the Bahamas or Paris or whatever. It could mean that there's some traveling that they need to do, metaphorically speaking. But more often than not, it's about literal traveling. You are going on that jet plane and you're going to that exotic country and having a great time and expanding your horizons. Then we've got the next card is the Four of Pentacles. And the Four of Pentacles is nicknamed the Bookkeeper's card because bookkeepers like to know where every single one of their pennies are. So this Pentacles is all about money most of the time. This bookkeeper, he's got one foot on each coin. He's holding one. He's got one in his head. He knows where all the pennies are. Same thing with this one. He's holding all the coins very close to himself. So when this shows up, it means, sometimes it means you need to get your financial situation stabilized, because again, it's a 4, right? Because good things are going to be happening, but only if you're financially stable. Or it means, you know, you kind of need to refocus on your pennies. Maybe there's some you haven't accounted for and you need to be more mindful of where your money's being spent, because we all, you know, we all do that. Like I'm sure many of us have done the budgeting thing where they say, well, how many times a week do you buy a coffee? And then you realize you're spending like $75 a month or $100 a month on coffee. And you're like, oh my God, I didn't realize I was spending that much. And then you don't drink coffee for about a week. And then you're like, screw it, I'm spending the $100 a month on coffee because I need it. But now you've got it in your budget and you know it's in there. Now the next card, oh, these aren't matched up, so I'll match them up here. So the next card is the Three of Cups. So sometimes this is called, there's various names that I've heard for it. It's called the party card. It's called the girls' night out card, the girls' party card, whatever form of party you want to do. But this usually means that, you know, there's some partying you need to do. You need to get together with your friends. Maybe there's some soundboarding you need to do off of them. Maybe you need to pose a question and hear what their feedback is. Maybe you need some of their advice, but you just kind of need to get out. Here they are here. This is very pretty. 3 women dancing and they've got those lovely ribbons, and then the 2 cups of the friends are pouring into your cup, so your cup is overflowing with the love, the support, the feedback, the advice, whatever it is you need. So this is a very cheery card, but it's very much about getting together with your friends and just finding that support within your friends circle. And then we've got, let me match these up again. Then we've got the Four of Wands. So the Four of Wands, here's what it looks like in the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith deck. So, you know, the rose garland, the 4 wands, 2 people coming together looking very happy. There's a crowd, they're you know, sort of sprinkling flowers like confetti. There's a castle here it is here. And it's, you know, a man and a woman with 2 children, the 4 wands, the rose garland. There's the dragonfly about transformation, and the bunnies. And bunnies do one good thing. They make a lot of bunnies. A lot more other bunnies. So this is called the marriage card. So this often means, like, when it pops up, it doesn't mean necessarily that you're getting married. It could if you're looking for that. But, you know, when you've got a woman who's been married for 32 years and is, you know, plus 50 years old, probably not, you know, looking for a new husband or anything. But it sometimes means there's a wedding in your life coming up. So it could be, like, for that woman, it could be her daughter or son that are getting married, or maybe a good friend if they're younger or whatever. So a wedding of some kind is coming up. And I can't tell you the number of times that I've had an older woman sitting in my chair and that marriage card shows up. And I'm like, oh, the marriage card is here. And they'll be chuckling and going, oh, I'm very happy where I am, and blah, blah, blah. I'm not looking to step out or anything. And I said, well, it's not always you. It could be someone else, right? And a lot of times I've said, you know, I kind of see, like, whether it's a son or a daughter getting married and blah, blah, blah. And I'm usually pretty good at my timeline, so I'll sort of nail down a time. And sure enough, I've had a lot of messages where women have gotten back to me and said, you know, you said that my son was going to, you know, be getting married, you know, May or June or September or October or whatever. And sure enough, he got engaged and they're planning a wedding for blah, 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 right? So even if it's not there yet, because sometimes it doesn't always make sense to them, then sometimes it's something that's coming up. Okay, so then we've got the 7 of Swords. So the 7 of Swords, here's this guy here. Looks like he's running away and he's looking behind him. Same thing with this guy, right? I've only ever had one client that said, oh, he looks like he's helping you out with this card or something. She got a positive spin off of it. So I went with it because, you know, when a client sees something in particular, I tend to sort of focus in on that because a lot of times they're touching on their higher self. But most of the time, this does not have a good spin to it. It's called the Thief card. So you can see he looks like he's running away with something. He looks like he's running away with something. I know in my Alice in Wonderland tarot deck, the thief is stealing cookies. He went to the cookie tent and stole cookies. So it usually means that someone is stealing something from you. And because it's swords, it's usually someone stealing your ideas, your words. And it's not always stealing per se, like stealing what you say. It might be suppressing what you say and then voicing it themselves of what you were going to say. So when I say it's the Thief card, I usually reassure clients it's not someone breaking into your house and stealing your TV or anything like that. It's actually stealing your thoughts or your words or your ideas. So someone's kind of taking credit, for instance, for your idea or your work, or like I said, your words, you know, or maybe you're not being heard as you should, and you say something and you're not being heard, and then someone else says the same thing and they get the credit for it because someone listened to them as opposed to you. So that's what that's about. It's a theft of some kind, not usually a physical theft though. And then we've got the 9 of Swords. Never looks fun. It's a pretty dark card, this one. And this one doesn't look so great either. There is some hope in there because there's an owl in there. So it's about things coming to an end, and it's a waning moon up here. So it's about things coming to an end, but this is nicknamed the Nightmare card because it's about you being worried or stressed about something, and it's keeping you up at night. You can't sleep. You've been having a lot of sleepless nights. So when this card shows up, you know, often I'll ask a client, have you been sleeping lately? Or is there someone close to you that's not sleeping well? And the nice thing is it is a 9, so it means it's going to be coming to an end. There's going to be some kind of solution very soon. Because when you can't sleep, you get stressed out, and then it gets even worse. And the last card, kind of a downer card, but it is the last card, is the 5 of Cups. And the 5 of Cups is often called the grieving card. So you can see, you know, this guy is standing in his black cloak, you know, your mourning clothes. and he's got his head down, and he's got these cups sort of tipped over in front of him, and behind him he's got 2 cups, right? So a lot of people focus in on this. He's not noticing these cups, right? But this is called the grieving card. So when this pops up in a reading, so there's the other guy in my gilded tarot, what he looks like. He's down on his knees. He looks like he's mourning or weeping in some way. And again, the 2 cups are behind him, right? So often this means, like when this pops up, I often ask a client, have you had a recent death around you or around a dear friend? And by recent, I mean in the last couple of years. So it's not like, because some people will go, no, not recently. Although my mother did die 1.5 years ago. Okay, that's considered recent. So I usually, now I preface that or mention, you know, within the last couple of years, because I'm not talking about last week or anything. Because when this card comes up, even though it's the grieving card, it means you're usually at the end of the grieving cycle and you're about to transition. And you're about to feel like life is coming back again. Because especially if you lose someone very dear to you, or a parent, a sibling, God forbid, a child, it takes you a while to kind of go through that grieving process. And some people, it takes longer than 2 years, and it still feels like it's fresh, even 5 years later. Everyone does grieving in a different way. But sometimes this card shows up too because it's a reminder. You need to live again. You can't get stuck in your grieving process. You need to keep moving forward. That's what your loved one would want anyways. Or perhaps it's grieving comes in many different ways too. It's not always someone you've lost in particular. It could be a job you lost. It could be a marriage you lost. It could be a house that you've moved from. And even, you know, it is a bit of a mourning process. Even if you're moving to your dream home from your smaller, nicer home, you had Christmases there, you had family dinners there, it was great, it was a good atmosphere, that sort of thing. And so even if you're moving to, you know, your dream home or whatever, you kind of mourn that old home because it held all your goods, it sheltered you at night when you were sleeping, it kept your food safe, you know, so it has good feeling around it. And you know, how many times have you gone by an old house that used to be yours and go, oh, I remember when I lived there, that was so nice, la la la. You know, I mean, I love the house I'm in now, but that was, you know, that was good too, right? I mean, some of us are wanting to get out of the house we're in so bad that, you know, we're happy to move, but you still kind of grieve it in a little bit of a way. So this is, like I said, called the grieving card. That's the nickname. And it's usually when you're at the end of the grieving cycle. So you're ready to kind of embrace life again. You're ready to kind of move on a little bit. Okay, so that's it for the nicknames of the cards. If you come across any other nicknames, please feel free to put them in the comments. I would love to know other nicknames of other cards. And message me if you ever want to, you know, get together for a reading. All right, thanks so much for joining me. Take care. Bye.